doors, close the door. 5,
1, 2,
6.
Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock the door. 5, 6, grab your crucifix. 7, 8, gonna stay up late. Yeah, I don't know why it's...
Hey, baby, I want to play house with you.
Baby, 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 oh, like baby, 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 oh, baby. Nicholas and I were talking about how much I fucking hate Justin Bieber, and he goes, oh, name one song. And as he says that, I'm singing, if I was your boyfriend, I'd never let you go.
I only know a few songs, but I am obsessed with the Eeny, Meeny, Miny. With Eeny, Meeny, with Sean Kingston that he did. Oh, God.
I know nothing about them.
It was good. It's a good one. That's the only one that I listen to.
Well, I'm glad that you like it.
Okay, one more. Do you remember this one?
Dude. Lies! Listen, okay? Listen. Listen, where's my fucking phone? Cinema.
I love
You
M2M.
You do?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I loved listening to
Shit.
She sounds like a little mouse.
Okay.
The
The
90s.
90s. For your birthday, I almost bought a book that said it was the 90s, and it was nothing but 90s pulp culture and major events around the world because it was the 90s. Just a few weeks ago, we're laying in bed and we were talking about fucking, I don't even know what. And I was like, oh, like, let me tell you about M. I kept calling them M and M.
It's M2M.
M2M. And he goes, there is no fucking way there's a band called M and M and I'm missing out on it. And I was like, yeah. So I look it up and of course it's not M and M, it's M2M.
Yeah.
And it was the very first CD that was ever gifted to me. So for Christmas I got a CD player with headphones. I'm pretty sure back then they called it Walkman.
Oh, yeah.
Because you could, put portable.
Walk with it.
Walk with it. Right. You can walk with it like the fucking dog. And the first CD that someone gave me to go along with this Walkman was a CD from the Pokemon movie.
Okay.
And it had 2 tracks. One was the fight between Mew and Mewtwo, the orchestra.
Okay.
And then the other song was that.
No way.
Yes. And I thought I was hot shit because I was like, you don't even know me. And I went searching for that song. I went searching for them on Spotify, and that track is older than what it says in Spotify.
Yeah.
But they re-released it on a new album a couple years ago, and I gave it a heart, and I listened to that in the motherfucking gym today.
Did you?
Yes.
This actually was not from the 90s. It was from 2000, so pretty close.
I can. I'm so happy that we lived the exact same life.
I do.
So, we don't own any of the rights to any of those songs, but what we do own are our names and our pronouns. My name's Jaren.
My name's Lars.
And we're your hosts
of Typically Divergent Podcast.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back. We're reunited and it feels real good.
So good.
And we're in a brand new room.
We're in a new room. While Lars was on vacation, Nicholas and I moved the rooms around upstairs. For some reason, just the volume of things right now is not sounding right in my headphones. So I'm doing everything I can to I know I'm like flicking that thing right there.
Flicking the bean.
Yeah, flicking the bean. So at like every episode, I'll run this through the AI filter thing to equal balance shit out because again, I don't have any understanding of sound engineering. So we sound really quiet when I'm listening, but I know like when you guys hear this, it doesn't sound quiet. So like if
You can be
there's
loud and proud.
yeah, so if there's like a moment where it gets really loud, I apologize. I don't know what to do. I looked at Lars and I was like, I probably fucking broke this. Like with my luck, I move everything around and now things are not acting right. So
Oh, interesting.
I hope nothing's wrong with that hole.
Sound like we're gonna get married.
That sounds just like her. I did pretty good.
Sound like we're gonna get married. Mirror, mirror hanging on the wall.
Tell me who's the prettiest of them all.
Mirror, I wish.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No,
I got very sidetracked with that.
I'm so happy that you knew who they were.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm M2M. And I was like, stop it. Stop it.
Let us know if any of y'all listen to M2M. You've been old enough.
I was going to say you have to be
Yeah.
a millennial or older.
You've got some arthritis at this point.
some backaches,
Yeah.
some sort of serious trauma.
Mhm. Probably queer.
You remember 9/11.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey everybody.
We're back. We're together.
back.
It's been 2 weeks.
Guess who's back? 3 weeks. Back again.
No. Has it really been that long?
Well, maybe it has been 3 weeks. I don't fucking know.
This has been a long ass time.
I told Lars, I was like, I really enjoyed my time off from us not doing the work of recording, but also like I really fucking missed you. Do you want to tell the people where you went on your trip?
Sure.
Okay, where'd you go?
I went to Hohenwald, Tennessee.
Okay.
It's a tiny city in Tennessee where Meriwether Lewis of the Lewis and Clark expedition is buried. And I had a feeling that this was going to happen.
Yep.
And I was right.
Sure were.
It was a ton of fun. It's a place that I've wanted. I mean, it's a serene, peaceful place because it's a cemetery.
Right.
But I've wanted to go to this place for years.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't there for very long, but it was just enough to pay our respects and to kind of read up on some of the artifacts that they had there. We camped at Hurricane Mills, Tennessee, which is 45 minutes away from the cemetery.
Okay.
We would just get into the Jeep and then we would just go wherever that we needed to go.
Jenny's dad, I almost said Jenny's husband. Jenny's dad owns this Jeep. And if anybody knows anything about Jeep people, they have those fucking rubber ducks in their windshield.
Yeah.
And Jan has this, I thought it was like a cowboy hat because it was so big sitting on the hood of this Jeep. And I was like, oh, wow. Look at that duck.
Yeah. Leave it to Jan
big
wanting.
duck.
He just wants everything bigger and better.
Yep. Same.
But apparently Hurricane Mills, Tennessee is where like Loretta Lynn like grew up.
Okay.
The country singer Loretta Lynn.
Okay.
We didn't get to see any things that she had because she had like her ranch is there. We didn't get to go there, but I kept seeing like a billion billboards about it. But we also went to the Nashville Zoo, which is super close to where we were camping as well, and would not recommend.
No.
It was like a 4 out of 10. It was created because there was a family that owned a plantation on the land.
Okay.
And after they died, which was pretty recent, it was like in the 80s, 70s or 80s, when they died, in their will it said that the land around that plantation had to be used for some sort of conservation.
Okay.
So the city of Nashville built a zoo. But the zoo is not cute because not only is there a fucking plantation on it,
Right.
but it's just like it's a lot of land of just like plants and like scenery rather than a lot of animals.
Okay.
There's probably only maybe 5 exhibits.
Oh,
And it's a huge piece of land.
that's really sad.
Yeah. So would not recommend. It was great.
Well, I'm glad that you had a really nice time.
It was very nice to decompress, also to disconnect from a lot of technology, even though that we had the RV. But we cooked every meal on a cast iron on a fire. And that was really, really fun.
That's great. I was going to make a joke about like, did you all use like pig intestines for condoms? Did you use all the things that we talked about
Right,
in last week's episode?
right.
I'm like, oh, did you guys do any of that stuff? Was that nice? Well, good.
Yeah, it was nice.
And while Lars was gone, I turned 32,
Yeah.
and my Instagram account for my business got hacked. So if anybody listens or follows or fucking whatever, at Hair Designs by Marco, literally spelled out exactly how it is spelled out exactly how it sounds. Do me a favor and go report that page, because I can't get into it now. They blocked my IP address
Oh,
on
man.
my phone, so like I can't go into our podcast account to view the hair account, and
man.
I was like, well, happy birthday to me. getting hacked like a grandpa.
Like a boomer.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was nice. And then, we've had some big, interesting changes happening here, on our end of the show. Out of respect for the parties involved, I can't say too much, but what I am going to say, are you okay if I tell them now?
Sure.
So Lars and I had a conversation, and we are doing a little bit of rebranding with the show. We are going to be taking a month off so we can kind of regroup, focus on our mental health, focus on some things that we need to take care of that are not a part of the show. And the plan is we're going to take a month off, and then we're going to give you guys 25 more episodes, and then take another month off, and then do 25 more episodes until we get to a point where things may change where we can do weekly episodes again. But Jaren needs some time off. Again, I can't really tell you guys about what's going on. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm alive. I have a place to live. Everything's good. Nobody's hurt, but I need a little bit of time off. So next week's episode is the Halloween episode, and that will be the show's 1 year anniversary. That'll be Lars's 25th episode on the show. And so it just seems kind of convenient to like wrap things up, do a full circle. And we're going to do 25 episodes at a time. So if you want to help us out, please like, subscribe, comment, follow, give us a rating. Oh my God, please rate us on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you find us wherever you're streaming us, and tell your friends.
Yes.
And send us your stories, or just direct message us. Just hype us up a little bit if you could, because we'd really appreciate it.
Yes.
But next week's episode, we are going to be doing ghost stories and paranormal encounters with whatever, anything that's spooky related, because it is going to be the Halloween episode and the anniversary episode. So if you have a ghost story, we would love to read them on the show next week.
Yeah. Anything that may have happened to you personally, or
yes,
maybe something that happened to a friend or a family member, or a popular story that maybe you heard growing up that you love to tell, or like maybe as a kid that you really like to listen to, like to be spooky or to get scared.
Yeah. If you guys want to send those in, you can send that into typically divergentpod@gmail.com. And we'll be reading those next week.
Or you can send them on the social medias.
Yes.
Instagram or TikTok.
Yes.
Or Facebook.
But don't fucking ask me if I want to be a part of a group for clothing, because I'm not falling for that one again.
When they messaged me, they sent it, and then they waited a couple hours, and then it said, "Do you mind?" And I said, "I do mind."
I do mind very much. Thank you.
And I went off on them. But
so, and Lars turns 34 tomorrow.
10/20/89, bitch. And I work, but after I go to work, I'm gonna go to a pumpkin patch.
Fucking love pumpkin patches.
Mm-hmm.
I love having sex in pumpkin patches.
When did that happen?
Whenever Nicholas and I were together the first time.
That is wild. Good for you.
Thanks. Every time that we go now, he's like, "Are you expecting sex?" I'm like, "Listen, I'm not expecting it, but I am gonna tell you that like if something happens, it happens, and that'd be really fun."
Well, if you guys are feeling up to it, you can come along.
What time are you going tomorrow?
I don't know.
Okay.
I get off at 12:30, so like whenever.
Okay. I work until 6. It's gonna be dark. You guys, it's getting dark so early.
I kind of like it.
Oh, I'm happy if you're happy. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I'm like, can't do it anymore. We haven't even gotten to the darkest part of the day, the year.
I can't do it anymore.
I can't. I can't. I don't want to. I'm an American. I don't have to understand anything. But November 5th is daylight savings time.
We need to
for-
just stop that. We're not a bunch of farmers trying to get by anymore.
No.
I mean, there are still farmers
Yes.
that make a living that way, but
Correct.
they can just get up when they need to. Why does it have to include all of us?
Why does the rest of the world have to fucking follow that?
And we don't travel by carriage anymore. I mean,
Unless
the
you're
Amish do.
Amish.
I mean, the Amish do, but like, there's flashlights and shit.
Horse and buggies. Yeah, they got cell phones these days.
It's
They're
not like-
so modern.
Don't let them fool you.
don't let them fool you. Yeah, they live off their own land and they build their own houses and they don't pay their taxes, and it makes me slightly jealous, but I have running water, electricity, and a toilet. So like I am great. Oh, and also like nobody fucking come for me, okay? Because I grew up across the street from the Amish. I lived in the Amish community. They I was gonna say they raised me. They babysat. I'm actually that's the truth, you guys. I'm actually from the Amish. My parents aren't
tea.
even my parents.
Yeah.
I left the community at 18 and moved in with John and Kim and took their last name. No, but they
Imagine.
yeah. When you saw me in high school, that wasn't really me.
wasn't
That
really
was somebody
me.
else. Yeah. So I I mean they babysat us in the summer. So like fuck,
That's wild. I didn't know that.
yeah, we had a landline in the garage so that they could come over and use our phone whenever they needed to. My dad was the township
You never
trustee.
told me this.
Yeah, my dad was the township trustee, and so like we every Saturday for a certain amount of time, a certain time out of the year, we would basically be like a licensed branch for their horse and buggies, and like we would sit there and register their plates, and like I would pass them out, and it would happen in this old rundown school that was only used a couple times out of the year, and there was like some ice cream in the freezer, and Jaron got some ice cream. And then we would also have to like go out to their homes and like measure their stuff for taxes and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was
I did have some encounters with the Amish when I was younger. When Dad was the store manager at Maysville,
oh yeah,
Maysville Meyer,
that's where we used to go.
he would do business with them because they would occasionally buy produce from them, and we got invited to a barn party.
Do you know
one
the last
time.
name of the family that you were invited to?
I don't remember.
Okay.
This is really just a blurb in my memory.
Okay.
But I remember going to these barn parties, and I remember there being a lot of alcohol.
Uh-huh. Oh,
And they always
my
would
God.
preach that they don't drink, but they do.
They love their alcohol.
Yeah. So
Yes. Oh my God, we might have been
you never
crossing
know.
paths.
Maybe I saw you at that barn party.
I know.
Well, did you ever go to a barn party?
Hell yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Every time somebody was getting married or having a baby or their Dobermans were having puppies, we were always at their fucking house. I remember the children, we were running around and we went up into the barn and we were like up at the top, like where the hay was.
Yeah.
And Rosemary, who was the Wiggies, one of their daughters. So, Rosie came upstairs and was like, "Hey, you kids, you need to get out of here." And like, I was so upset.
Watch me, bitch.
I was so upset that like she got mad that we were up in the hay area that I went home and I took a shower and cried in the shower and I screamed, "I hate
Amish lady yelled at me.
I was like, I remember sleeping in the shower and I was like, "I hate you, Rosemary." And like my mom was like, "Oh my God, Jaron, just like let it go." I was like, "No, she yelled at me." Because back then, you know, like the only people that raised their voices at me were my parents.
Yeah.
And it was weird for having somebody else yell at me. But it was like me and a bunch of other kids. But
Yeah.
like, no, I took on the responsibility because I'm the only non-Amish.
You're like, it's my fault. We got yelled at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Amish living.
How do we even get here?
The
Amish.
I have no fucking idea. So, how's your mental health? How's your head?
I'm doing really good.
Okay, that's great.
It's definitely helped not having to go to school.
Yeah.
Or having to do homework and...
Okay, good.
Oh, I passed my class with a B.
Oh, that's right. Great job.
Thanks. But not having to worry about school and just going to work and coming home is just like, that's great.
Yeah.
That's definitely helped my mental health.
Good.
And I'm taking the next part of fall off, so I don't have to go back to class until January.
Oh, great.
I know, I have a lot of time off.
I was going to be like, I'm so jealous, but I'm not in school, so it's not like it changes anything for me.
My success coach was like, are you going to take the next fall semester? And I said, no. Holidays coming up. I don't want to be working.
Oh my God, no.
I don't want to be working 40 hours. And then
Yeah.
on top of the 40 hours, all of the extra stress that comes with holiday.
Yeah.
And then having to worry about passing a class.
Mhm.
I'm not doing that to myself.
Yeah. Oh, so we have a listener request for an episode, and that I'm gonna tell you right now that will be the first episode when we come back from our break. So Gracie, that one's gonna be for you, babe.
Yep.
Miss you, love you, hope you and your hubby are doing well. So, I'm looking for a new career. If anybody out there knows of any leads where they are hiring for trade skilled labor, like a journeyman situation, holla at your boy, because I really don't care what it is. I just know that I want to work with my hands, and I don't particularly really want to work directly with like a customer, but like if I have to every so often, sure. But applied for a plumbing job. I'm gonna go lay some pipe. Could you imagine, like, hi, my name's Jaren. Like, I'm a plumber Monday through Friday, and then I cut hair on Saturdays. It's so nice to meet you.
I'm here to fix your toilet.
Are you also looking for a new hairdresser? Because your shower drain says that your hair is falling out.
Just have this mental picture of you like working on a toilet, and then the person that you're helping is kind of nearby listening to you, and you're just like,
Ew, this is disgusting.
I can't believe they douched in this toilet. Fish fucking shit outside like a normal person. Oh, speaking of normal persons,
yeah.
Big Vape on Netflix, a four episode mini docuseries. I would highly recommend, because I have made jokes about people who smoke e-cigs, and I get it now. I understand the craze behind it. Was specifically about Juul and the rise and fall of it.
Okay. I thought you meant the singer. I'm like, what the
These hands are mine. These are my hands.
My hands are so
Yeah,
tiny.
because they're mine.
It was the 90s. You had to be there.
Hands are small, I know, but they're not yours.
Because they're
Oh,
mine.
not yours.
That's how she sounds. She was
I
so
know.
like sweet and precious.
So, I would highly recommend it. It was a great docuseries. So yeah, e-cigs, smoke a regular cigarette. But yeah, tech giants, Juul.
My, not yours.
In my hands.
how's your mental health? You've experienced a lot of change.
So yeah, I've been experiencing a lot of changes, and it has not been very peachy keen. I've been doing lots of crying. I cried at the gym again today.
At least you're crying.
Yeah,
That's a good thing.
At least I'm crying. My head is shit right now. I can't wait for our therapist to get her internet up and running so that I can speak to her.
Yep.
And I look forward to having a new career where I have health insurance again so that I can go back to weekly appointments. But today, something that did make my head feel better was when I called, I called Dozer's vet to get a refill on his prescriptions to have those sent to Costco. And the woman that I spoke to, I usually interact with her when I go and call, and she's such a sweet woman. I love her so much. Cassandra, I know you don't listen, but I just want to like put that out there that you are amazing. I called her and she goes, "Why are you calling to have the prescription refilled? Why don't you just call Costco?" And I was like, "Well, I can't because I was told that I have to call you to have the refill sent out."
And then they charge you.
Huh?
And then they charge you.
And then they would charge me. And she goes, "Oh, I can put refills on those for you."
Aw.
So the girl that I interacted with when I made the first phone call, she's not usually like ever in a really good mood when I talk to her. And when I talked to her about this, when she was the first one I spoke to about this, and she was like, "We're going to have to charge you $10 every time that you call us because we have to go out there and call them." So when I spoke to Cassandra, she was like, "I won't charge you for it today. I'm going to go ahead and put refills on your medications for Dozer. And you can just call Costco from now on and they'll do the refills." And I was like, "Oh my God,
good
thank you
for
so
you.
much." Yeah. And Dozer is going to be getting quite the load of medicine. Nothing has like changed. It's just now that I'm spending so much less, I'm like, let's go ahead and just stock up, buddy. So
Yeah. Good thinking.
yeah. So yeah, that's what's been going on. Nothing too exciting.
Well, it's very exciting, but not the cute exciting.
Right.
It's adrenaline rushing.
Right. Right. So, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about your hens?
My hands.
No.
Okay.
No.
So, what are we doing today?
Since like the last time we saw each other, I think we talked about sex.
Yep.
We're going to talk about sex again.
Fuck yeah.
We're talking about Victorian sex.
I think of harlots.
Harlots was the 18th century.
Okay.
The Victorian era is more 19th century.
Okay.
Or Victorian era is the 19th century.
Okay. So I don't
that means
think of
that
anything then. I don't think
Okay.
of anything.
I
I think is Bridgerton?
That's 18th century.
Okay.
When I say 18th century, it's 1700s.
Right.
When it's 19th century, it's 1800s.
1800s.
And then
Right.
so on and so forth. Yeah.
Right.
So it's when Queen Victoria was in power
Okay.
in England.
Okay.
She was married to Prince Albert.
Who had the first Prince Albert piercing?
I found in my research that that's not true.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
You mean to tell me that the internet lied
You mean to tell me this whole time?
this whole time? Parental pause. Skip 5 seconds. So you mean to tell me that when I had my Prince Albert, I thought that I was
Hot shit.
royalty?
Yeah.
And no, it's not royalty at all?
No.
Okay, fine.
I'm really sorry.
It's fine. It's just, it just perpetuates the whole, like, you can't believe everything you see on the internet.
That's true.
Okay, parents, well, you can't read everything, you can't believe everything you see on TV either.
No.
I can't fucking believe shit.
Everything is an illusion, and it's not real. That motherfucker!
Great. I am so happy to know that we're just in a simulation. We're the Sims.
Is that why it's called The Sims?
Yeah, because simulation.
If you could see my motherfucking eyes right now.
I had a conversation with a client about this today because we were talking about he finished a video game that Nicholas had started, and I was like, oh wow, Nicholas has like moved on from that. Like he stopped playing that for a bit. He was playing something else. Whatever he was playing when you came over.
Yeah.
I was like, it was very similar to like The Sims, but like I don't know if I told you this, and I'm telling him that. And I'm like, I don't know if I told you this or not, but like when I play The Sims, my goal is to make them just like fuck. I don't care
Yeah.
about anything else.
Yeah.
And Nicholas was like, wow, like we have completely two different gameplay styles. And he was like, I'm like trying to like build a house and a family.
And you're trying to make him
I'm like, get back over here, bitch, and flirt with me. We need a woohoo over in the shower. Like, what else am I gonna fucking make them do? Have children? Have a life? Why? Why would I tell a computer simulated avatar? There we go. Why would I make an avatar? Why would I tell an avatar to vacuum his house when I need to vacuum my own damn house?
Right.
Oh, that reminds me. I had my parents over to the house for the first time.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
Did they like
Excuse
it?
me.
Did they
Yeah.
love it?
Yeah.
Good. They need to.
You hear that, Mom and Dad? You need to love this house.
Okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Victorian sex.
Well, I want to show you a picture.
Bustles and all.
I want to show. Yes, I want to show you a picture, and I want you to tell me what you think of it.
Okay. Is he sticking his finger up her butt?
No, that is a dildo.
Oh, those are dildos.
Yeah,
I didn't see his other hand. Those look like carrots.
I know.
Victorian porn. Okay, great.
So
Very sexually open. Explorative.
there is a lot of misconceptions about the Victorian era.
Okay.
So we were brought up to think that this was the time where everybody was sophisticated,
Mm-hmm.
and it was everything was really closeted and prudish.
Okay.
Everything was just kind of like, you don't talk about those things. No, we don't talk about sex. Like, we don't think about sex, but it's
Okay.
actually the complete opposite.
Okay.
So in the Victorian times, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, is this when we have sexually transmitted diseases develop?
Well, we've always had sexually transmitted diseases.
So
But-
before this time.
But yes, there was this is where you do see an increase,
Okay.
an influx. So the Victorian era is from 1837 to 1901, because that was the reign
Okay.
of Queen Victoria. So that's just the reason why we call it the Victorian era, is because just she was reigning
She
during
was
that
the
time.
queen. Okay.
Yes. This is where we see society start to segregate men and women
Okay.
and gender. So men were looked at as these strong, robust, part
Bring
of the
home
family that took care of the home, made the money, was
the bacon bringer.
the
Okay.
person that the breadwinner. And when it came to women, they were, of course, you start to see more of they need to be home, and they need to be taking care of the home.
The
and,
domestication.
yeah,
Of women.
and
Okay.
they should be very ladylike, and they shouldn't be shown anything that could be vulgar in any way.
Okay.
So men had this.
Oh, like they're delicate flowers.
Yeah, basically.
Treat them like they're delicate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Specifically when we're talking about sex, it was okay for men to go out and explore and
Outside of the home.
yes,
Okay.
prostitution was a huge thing.
Okay.
It kind of boomed. It just was prostitution. Let's do it.
Okay.
And they were very free to do what they wanted to do and to explore and to kind of get ready for marriage. Women, on the other hand, were not allowed to do that. And there was a lot of manuals and pamphlets that were made
Okay.
for women to understand what sex was. On the surface level, when we hear about that and when we're taught that, we automatically think oh, then they must have abided by those rules.
Mhm.
But that's not the case.
Okay.
There was lots of premarital sex happening. There was the Victorian porn that I showed you.
Right.
That took that was a huge surge. So the photographs, because the photographs are starting to really come about.
Oh, right. Because you could take a photo quicker.
Yeah.
Than what they had previously
Yeah.
been like. Okay.
So this is where we see an explosion of daguerreotypes of what I said, what I just showed you, of women naked with men. There was a lot of photographs of even not bondage, but whips. And there was some bondage I saw
Okay.
when I went through some of the photos. There was some bondage. Lots of toys, lots of toy play.
So major exploration.
Yes, major
going on.
exploration.
Okay.
It's really interesting to see how from the 18th century, from the 1700s, it was more of it was the Enlightenment. So there was talk of this, and there was some exploration, and there wasn't really anything that was necessarily hindering. There was no facade.
Okay.
The 18th century, you could just do whatever you wanted to do. Like there was no like facade of like, oh, women have to do this and men have to do this.
Okay.
Victorian, that's where we see the change again, like with the genders and being separate. Like the men do this, women do this. So it became very, what was happening behind closed doors was not being, we just didn't see it.
Okay.
So it's more of like a polite society. Now, obviously, from my research, the upper class was the ones that were writing about these things and like being able to get their photographs taken, and being able to purchase prostitutes.
Right, because only of the upper class will always have money and access to the things that the other people below them are not allowed to have access to.
Right. When I was doing the research on like why do we like what happened in the Victorian period that make people so polite or want to act polite, it was about whatever class that you were in, you would put on the facade of this is how you should act.
Okay.
Like each class all wanted to be the example of what that class should look like.
Okay.
So then we also have like that, the class warfare, like kind of like moving in.
Okay.
Which is kind of interesting because it does affect sex and like how you get it and how you do it and like everything, like where it's coming from.
Right.
I found a really good article. It's from Metro Lifestyle from the UK.
Okay.
And it's called Historical Sex, the Victorian Disease, Pornography, and Royal Sex Chairs.
Royal sex chairs?
Yes, because in that time when you had the royal family was very, very open about what they were doing in the bedroom.
Okay.
Prince Albert and Queen Victoria had like this reputation of being like really like very like open about what they were doing in the bedroom, and like Queen Victoria would write these letters about what she was doing specifically like with Prince Albert, and like they would just talk about it like out in the open, out in public. So like we start to get a lot of information about like what's happening like in the castle.
Were his pants tailored to show off his bulge?
I don't know. I can look it up.
No, it's okay. 'Cause
Probably.
that was part of the information that was told to me about why the Prince Albert's called a Prince Albert was because the Queen loved how endowed his package was, and she wanted to show it off to all of the other people. And so his clothes were specifically tailored to enhance his genitalia and his gray sweatpants for all you millennials.
I guess it would be the gray sweatpants thing.
Yeah.
Basically. So specifics about sex during that era. This article kind of talks about some things that could happen, like if you had sex, or things that were like socially acceptable, or things that were like really, really common to see.
Okay.
Fear of disease made sex a dangerous activity. So obviously, like we talked about last episode, is in the same vein. You know, there was things that we didn't know because science was not as advanced. So Victorians' attempt to squash sexual urges were in some ways simply practical. Syphilis was seemingly everywhere in the mid-1800s. Not only was it disfiguring, it could affect your mental health and could also be passed down to your children. Although condoms did not exist, they weren't encouraged as they would be today. Back then, STIs were often seen as punishment for loose morals. The Goodyear factory began producing rubber condoms.
Goodyear as in like Goodyear tire?
Yes.
So Goodyear tire has been around
For a long ass time.
for a long time. This is like DuPont.
Yes, bitch.
Okay. Wow, good for them.
I know. The Goodyear factory began producing rubber condoms in 1855 because up until now it was linen or sheepskin.
Okay.
And obviously linen's not going to help you.
No. And that poor woman.
And sheepskin obviously was the most effective because it was
better.
The water would just roll off, or the semen would just
roll right off.
Roll right off there. It wouldn't
roll tide.
It wouldn't seep through anything.
Disgusting. And I swallow. That's gross. Sorry, Mom.
Okay, so with that said, like I said earlier, we do see the influx of STDs, STIs because there's just more promiscuity happening.
Right.
You know, the Victorians were obsessed with masturbation.
Okay, good for them.
The
They're
given that
releasing their essence.
they believe that not only was it safer sex, but they it's but the array of devices designed to prevent the dreaded nocturnal, aka spermatoria. So there was a contraption that was called a four-pointed urethral ring, and it was for the treatment of masturbation. So Victorians, although that they were obsessed with it, it was looked to be like very, very improper.
Okay.
Because in that time, like sex was only used for procreation.
Very Catholic of them.
Yeah. So there's a picture here. I don't know if you can see it very well, but it says it's a four-pointed urethral ring baby. I can post this on the Instagram page, but it is
like the worst kind of cock ring I've ever seen.
It's a ring, and it looks like it has fabric around it and probably some sort of leather. And inside it has like 4 spikes. This was to prevent masturbation. And this was for
that's going to prevent anybody from doing anything.
This was for men, obviously.
Right.
But the treatment for female masturbation could even be more severe. They would do clitorectomy, which is removing a woman's clitoris or clitoris. Unfortunately, that's still happening today in parts of the world,
yes.
Which we will not get into because I just get really fucking mad.
Yeah.
Again, prostitution was very common. Known as the Great Social Evil, prostitution was rife in Victorian cities and actually became even more of a problem because Jack the Ripper was out and about in 1888, and it even fueled the fire for even more of like, it's bad.
Yeah.
Can't do it. It's a great social evil, you know? This is just like the way of like heaven, like punishing us.
Yeah.
You know, for doing that as a society.
Jack the Ripper was born because people weren't jacking off enough.
Or having prostitutes,
right.
Having some sort of sexual relief in that way. Along with that, the Prime Minister Gladstone was renowned for his attempts to save prostitutes, although his motives were questioned by a lot of his colleagues. It says Gladstone manages to combine his missionary meddling with a keen appreciation of a pretty face. He has never been known to rescue any of our East End horrors, nor for that matter, it is easy to contemplate his rescuing an ugly woman.
Okay.
Nice. This is a Victorian dildo.
Looks nothing like a real penis, but...
No, and it looks like it's made of some sort of ivory.
Oh.
Which is a little rhino horn.
Right.
Or an elephant horn, whatever, or tusk, whatever you want to...
if there is no give in that material, that is going to be
painful.
Really painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there is no give in ivory. Sex toys were another form of something that started to become really popular. Mm-hmm. And they were carved into dildos, or the form of a penis, and have been around, obviously, since the dawn of time. But it was also, not only was it for sexual pleasure, but also it was a form of curing hysteria.
I've heard of this.
Yeah,
where
so
like they would see women... And I actually like heard a podcast episode from another show where they talked about like how we no longer want to use the word like hysterical because of the negative connotations that it had on women in the past.
Right.
Because women who were human beings that were having human emotions were looked at as crazy because men were like, oh, I'm not going to show any emotions, but women were not afraid to feel and show their emotions. And so a way for them to like control these women were to essentially sexually assault them with toys that were prescribed by the doctor to do. And basically it's just very medieval. Mm-hmm. But it's not of even medieval times. It was literally just 200 years ago. It
also makes me feel really uncomfortable because it seems to me that they got some sort of like sick pleasure out of it.
Yeah, by sexually assaulting women and forcing them into an orgasm so that they would release the tension. Like,
which is also funny too because they believed that like if you didn't orgasm during sex, then you can't get pregnant. That was literally a belief that they had when I was doing my research. So it's very contradictory, all
Yeah.
of this.
That's a great way for men to be like, well, as long as you don't finish, then you can't get pregnant, but I'm going to go ahead and finish anyway.
Yeah. So again, I find this really interesting, and I've brought it up a couple times in the conversation, but Queen Victoria was really enthusiastic about sex with her husband. It says the outwardly dour monarch was obsessively in love with her consort Albert and wrote this diary entry about their wedding night. So this is what she wrote about their consummation.
Okay.
It was a gratifying and bewildering experience. I never spent such an evening. His excessive love and affection gave me feelings of heavenly love and happiness. He clasped me in his arms and we kissed each other again and again.
Well, he claps my
He
cheek.
got my cheekies. Yep. In contrast to the general beliefs of the time, Victoria was overwhelmingly in favor of physical affection, so long as it was between her and her beloved Albert. Indeed, some have gone so far as to describe her as a nymphomaniac, wearing out her husband with her eagerness.
Mm-hmm. I heard that
I heard
too.
about that too. Oh, this does have some information about the Prince Albert.
Okay.
They can't be sure. They said that there are many tales of men having a dressing ring fitting in order to keep themselves tucked away in fashionable tight trousers. So you're right.
Okay.
So it wasn't really a piercing. It would have just been something to tuck his genitals back. So like a ring. So maybe that's where they got the name for it.
Okay.
Dressing rings certainly existed. They are the reason why old-fashioned tailors would ask which way a gentleman's dressed
Mm-hmm.
when fitting him for trousers.
Yep. I was asked that once, and I was like, pardon? He was like, yeah, do you dress to the left or to the right? And I was like, I just put on my clothes, buddy. And he was like, your penis. Do you put it on the left side or the right side?
Yeah. And you're like, oh.
Okay.
Like previous, with the royal family, the Prince of Wales owned a sex chair. The future King Edward VII, known as Bertie to his family, was so debauched in his behavior that his father, Prince Albert, so this is his son, Prince Albert's son, informed him, I knew that you were thoughtless and weak, but I could not think you depraved. Albert left his sick bed to visit Bertie after hearing tales of his consorting with actress Nellie Clifton, but during the trip, Albert caught a chill, which may have hastened his death, and caused why is this? That's not what I want. Just kidding. You can cut that out. Going back to some of the pornography, there was a secret roaring trade of this. So this is, again, where it gets really, really popular. A lot of these came in manuals or some like pamphlets. And there was an estimated of 57 porn shops in just Holywell Street, which is in London. And that was in 1834. So this was described by the news or the Times newspaper as the most vile street in a civilized world. It was the center for pornography long before Soho developed its own reputation.
Right.
Yeah.
Cute.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
One of the...
I wonder what in 200 years they're going to look back on current day as. Like this rise of like self-produced porn of like OnlyFans just for fans. And then I don't even fucking know what they're going to be doing in 200 years from now. I bet we'll like revert backwards from that.
Yeah.
And be like, no, more celibacy.
Yeah. I think about that sometimes too. In 1857, there was actually an Obscene Publications Act. It was intended to drive out this illegal trade, but it simply drove it further underground, with booksellers working under fake names to avoid detection. I feel like we're still experiencing that today in modern society.
Yeah.
Just hiding art and thinking it's anything else but that.
Yeah.
And it's the sex, not the sex trade, but sex work, I think, is getting a little bit more of like a renaissance now. I think that we're starting as a society to try to embrace it more, especially with like the talks of like, it's okay to be a sex worker.
Yeah.
Like it's not looked at as basically you're just the low of the low.
Yeah.
Like it's still work and it's still valid.
Right. And you can't shame on sex workers and still watch free
porn.
clips on Pornhub. So like,
Don't do it.
don't do it.
Or do it, but don't be a dick.
Don't. Use your dick properly. That's the title of the episode. Use your dick properly.
That's the T. There was a quote that has always been like thrown around with Queen Victoria. Lie back and think of England. Have you ever heard of that quote?
Mm-mm.
So
Lie back and think of England.
So when Queen Victoria was about to wed Albert, her mother was basically like not prepared to like really talk to her about like what it looks like on your night of consummating your marriage. And apparently there was like this rumor that she said, just lie back and think of England because it's doing your duty for your country. But apparently in my research, she never really said that. But it's clever though. Like just lie back and think of England for your country as you're doing your civic duty and breeding.
Gross.
Isn't that gross?
Yes.
So in the pamphlets that I mentioned, there is a quote in there that I wanted to read because I thought it was really funny.
Okay.
It is from a woman named Aunt Epp. She said, "Sex is like bread. What would life be without it? A dull business indeed."
That is tattoo worthy. Do you know how much I love bread? I love bread.
I know.
Sex is like bread. Without it, life would be what?
Dull.
She's not wrong. She's so right.
So restrictive social codes indeed prevented explicit discussion of sex in polite company, while common morality held that act itself to be solely for procreation. Just to kind of like sum everything up, we have just the women being forced to act a certain way, and this is where we begin to see sex and women start to, it's almost like they have some freedom, but then they start to pull away again.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of creates like the foundation of how women, they're too like delicate to talk about it or to act on it, but in the privacy of their own home, it's okay. So it's just like this double standard.
Right. They're too delicate to talk about sex with, but they're not too delicate to rape. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's going to cut out.
Yeah. Yeah. So all in all, it's very contradictory. We have this way to act in public and to be like this facade of society and how you should act, and then behind closed doors and underground with all this pornography, like we have a completely different story. So I thought it was really interesting to see kind of like where that stems from, because I feel like we kind of experience that now in certain ways, because knowing a lot about the 18th century and how sex was looked at and perceived and talked about, it was a lot more open, like this is what it is. There's no like hiding it.
Yeah.
But then the Victorian era, it's more like, again, like you should act like this and you should be proper.
Right.
But in all, like we're not gonna put our money where our mouth is with that. So.
Wow. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table.
Thanks.
I had two things that I wanted to bring up to tell you and the people that I forgot to mention. Britney Spears.
Oh boy.
Her new book comes out the week that this episode comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And trigger warning for losing a child. But she had an abortion.
Mm-hmm. I heard about that.
When she was with Justin.
Reason 1654 that we don't like Justin Timberlake.
Their song came out.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you like it?
Well, when I first heard it, I didn't know it was them. I thought it was a K-pop group.
No kidding.
I'm excited for you to be excited.
I know. It sounds just like a fucking Justin song.
Yeah.
It sounds just like a Justin Timberlake song.
Well, it was playing at the salon, and I was like, wow, K-pop is really making a big moment here in America. No, it wasn't K-pop. It was NSYNC.
I'm so excited to see you excited.
And I was listening to it, and I was just like, oh, I can't wait to hear JC. And then I heard him. I was like, oh, thank God. His voice is so beautiful.
So beautiful.
I don't mind that the world spins faster.
Faster, faster, faster. Cute. All right. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for doing the research today and bringing up Victorian Sex. We will post some of those photos on our Instagram page, and I'm also gonna have you send me some of those photos as well, and I'm gonna blur out some of the naughty bits
Like the titties.
and put them on our IG account, the
Great.
non-hacked IG account.
Great. Can you get on our IG account?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can get on ours.
Okay.
But yeah, so
Whatever.
thanks for hanging out with us this week, you guys. We love you so much. And next week we're gonna be finishing out the first year with some spooky Halloween bullshit. So I hope that you are looking forward to that. And again, if you have any Halloween stories that you want to send in, or ghost stories, or anything of those sorts, you can write us in at typicallydivergentpod@gmail.com. And did you have anything else you wanted to say before we sign out?
No.
Okay. So thanks for hanging out with us, you guys. We love you so much.
We love you very much.
And you'll see us next Monday. And this is us signing out.
Bye.
Bye.